Next podcast with Chris and Todd.
Hey, I'm excited. It's another day of podcasting, man.
Here we go.
You and I
get it.
Listen, it's kind of we talked about it earlier today, like things that we would like to be doing, right? Today is opening day of baseball. You're a big baseball guy.
I am.
I am a baseball guy. I'm sad because we lost our channel for the Twins.
Yep.
And so we don't get Fox Sports North anymore. So there's been a there's been a drastic increase of not watching any baseball in the Sword Out House, which we always used to watch the Twins.
That's crazy. I am a big baseball fan, but I love watching it in person.
Yeah, I would agree.
Watching it on TV, there's occasionally I'll do it, but I am not.
Are they
great.
at Kauffman Stadium today?
I don't know.
I don't even know
if they're
where
at Kansas City or at Minnesota.
Man, it is called Kauffman Stadium, right? Yeah. So the Minnesota Twins Stadium is fun, but man, if you get up there in the higher seats, it is literally, it's going to mess with your vertigo. You're going to just be like nauseous. It is straight up and down, but you know, they wedge that sucker in there and it's fun.
It's a pretty sweet park.
It is a fun park to go watch.
Target, right?
Yeah, Target Field.
Yeah.
They actually collect the rainwater and use it to water. Like the amount of rainwater that they collect and redistribute to the field is pretty sweet.
There you go. You always get a little nugget at the beginning of our podcast that has nothing to do
with our podcast.
But there you go.
Hopefully it's beneficial for the people because that's why we do it. We do it for the people, right?
Yeah. We bring in all different audiences because of it. That's what we hope so.
That's the hope. Yeah. Like not push different audiences away.
Like they're talking about baseball.
They didn't talk about football at all today. I'm done. Why didn't they mention where Lamar Jackson's going? Anyway.
Because we just don't care.
You know, we literally don't. But it is odd. I will say this. The world is perpetuated sports is perpetuated around agents. Like I have a friend in the NFL that isn't playing right now, but I know his agent's working the phone trying to figure things out. Yeah. Lamar Jackson has no agent. He is his own agent.
It's fascinating.
Which is, in that would be one thing that I would definitely not want on my plate.
No.
So speaking of things that are on our plate,
nice segue.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We, for those of you that know, I mean, you know that we're pastors here at Fountain Springs Church. Yep. And some of you, the beauty of Fountain Springs Church is there are people from all different places like that have moved in recent years, that have been a part of church, that have never been a part of church, that maybe even wonder if they really want to be a part of church. And that's great. We want the opportunity to have a conversation. Yeah. But there's also a perception about what you and I do on a given day. Like, do we just sit around and talk about sports, or
do we do this all day?
You know, will we pontificate? Well, with Caitlin Clark, will she?
Look at you pontificate,
man. Wow. Will she win the national championship?
Wow.
Why not us? Go Iowa! Come on, Hawkeyes. Anyway, but literally, I mean, I've been kind of wrestling with this conversation of call and job lately, and I'll be honest, like that was one of the things that I knew I couldn't get away from when I entered ministry, that I believe I had a call to be in ministry that I could not get away from. And I remember my dad even writing me a note that said, listen, if God's call is not on you to go to ministry, get away, go do something else. Yep. And I read that like, man, come on, Dad, don't you believe in what I'm saying to you that I want to do? Yeah. But my dad being in ministry, he knew the gravity and the weight. Like, but if
you gotta want it,
but God's call is not on your life, you don't want to dive into this.
But, if there's something else you can go do,
go
do it. It's kind of what I heard. But
and
I think part of the reason, I mean, with this podcast being next, and one of the things I think as a church that we'd love for you to hear is just helping you navigate, like, because we are at a unique sized church.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our roles are unique because some people grew up in church where, the pastor did all of it.
Yeah.
Pastor did the preaching, and then he was doing all the weddings and the funerals, and he was doing all the stuff.
Which is impressive if you're only working one day a week. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's fantastic.
Right. All of it.
Which is a crazy misnomer about our jobs.
But I get it, because I mean, when I was growing up, like, when I felt like God telling me, is like, hey, all I thought it did was put sermons together. So absolutely. I thought I had some like public speaking gift, and to realize is like, well, it wasn't that. It was more of how to shepherd and how to care for people, but also how to lead things that are growing, or to set up things like ministries and how to make them, okay, what's effective, what's not? How do we help people move from here to there? in some sense. Yes, God's doing it, but we've got to set up the opportunities for that.
And I saw the opposite side of that, which my dad and
you
my
saw all the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I saw all the behind the scenes. So I knew that my dad did everything else and then preached on Sunday or led a prayer service or, but I am who I am today because of, the model that my mom and dad, lived out each and every day and, serving people and just being present in people's lives. And that was the heartbeat of what they did. And then my dad did preach, and it's funny even looking back now, being in ministry, man, what am I? 24 years coming up on starting 25, awesome, which is just nuts to think about. Just even, it's weird, the knowledge that you gain and grow in as a pastor, not just biblically, but systems wise and taking steps or taking risks and looking back at what my dad did or didn't do, realizing, they did what they did because they believed that's what they were supposed to do. But me looking back now going, well, what if he had done that? What if he had done that? Oh, that would have been interesting to watch. But God made each of us, like you and I have a lot of similarities, but there are definitely differences with the way in which we minister, which only makes us, I believe, more effective.
Correct.
In the way that we can engage and love people. So, which is our desire. Like I think I can speak pretty confidently to the fact that your desire is birthed out of just a want to see people grow and take a next step and really grow in an emboldened faith.
Yep.
So,
and I think to help people understand, I think I'll explain a little bit of the structure that we have.
Absolutely.
So that way you can kind of begin to see like, okay, so what, as some of you have asked, like, what is it that you do all week? Because
so are you full-time at the church?
So we know David preaches. So what do you do?
What do you bring to the table, Todd?
And so part of it is like, yes, David's our lead pastor, and he is the one carrying about 60 to 70% of the preaching on the weekends. Sometimes we share that load with him. But then on top of that, you've got he's carrying the vision. He's carrying the weight of like, hey, God, where are you taking this church? Then comes our roles as location pastors to shepherd that. Because if David was trying to shepherd all 2,000 plus, many of you would be disappointed.
Yeah. He would be, and Katie would be exhausted,
and they wouldn't make
family life. Yeah, it would just be ridiculous
because you all would recognize that, like, oh yeah. So what our roles become is we get to do more to the shepherding. Which I think fills both of more of where we're kind of wired. In some ways, like I love doing the shepherding component. If I think. I'm not saying I don't want to tell God what I should do, so I'm always careful with this conversation because if it ever changes, I want to be ready for it.
We get done with this.
Here we go.
Let's have a conversation today.
For me, there would be a drain to have to put a sermon together every week because that would take time. That there's parts I love my schedule being filled with meetings with people. And you're even better at you'll just on a whim be like, I just thought of this person. I'm going to reach out, go connect with them and see how they're doing. And that for some of you, it just means so much. And so for us, we're looking at our location, okay, how are people taking their next step? How are people feeling connected? How are people even taking even beyond just the next step in our church, but discipleship and all those kind of things? And so we're also trying to provide serving opportunities. So our role, I mean, you and I run the guest services at our church of seeing, okay, ushering, parking, greeting, all those kind of things. Volunteer Central a little bit falls into that category. And then we have teammates and people that we have on our team to help us run the group side of things and the Next Steps team. But we're trying to create like, hey, when you walk in, you have a good environment. It's because it's like you could hear a great sermon, but if the environment stinks and no one is welcoming you or no one wants to be there, you won't want to be there.
No, and it's tough because I mean, it's not like you just happened upon that reality, right? Like, because you've been here from the beginning when David came here, like almost 15 years ago now, as youth guy. And then, you had one campus. And then, launching 8 years ago, almost now this Easter.
2016.
Or 7 years now, but heading into year 8 of seeing East come to play. So, I mean, those broad gamuts of, okay, I was just youth. Now I was assistant guy. Now I'm location pastor, now over multi-site, and just having
the whole adult ministry side.
Having to learn and adapt. I think that's probably a great word for ministry, is just the adaptability that is necessary to be a part of this job, because there are days you look at me and say, hey, I need you to do this. And I may look at you and say, okay. Or, and the other days I'll look at you and say, I thought you never asked, let's go, And I think that's probably one of the things I love about the job, is because it's not just going and sitting at a desk, for 8 to 5.
Correct.
Which, trust me, my feelings on that. If I could never be in the office ever.
If you could avoid meetings.
That's right. If I could avoid, meetings
on one-on-one, you're great. But hey, we need to have a meeting about staff stuff or stuff like those. You're kind of like,
will there be food there? Will there be brainstorming? If the answer is no to both of those, I'm going, I don't know if God's calling me to that meeting or not.
So this is a logistics meeting?
I got some logistics somewhere else. But I
got logistics to be other places.
Yes, but I do. For me, in this job, there are days where I can be at West and I have to reset some stuff or move some stuff or just work on things or be out having lunches or connecting with people. I'll even go as far as to saying, even if there's a funeral and I need to meet with the family I am in the throes, like you are right now, of a lot of conversations about premarital. And you may say, well, why do you premarital? Well, it's not because we want to check a box. We literally want to provide a great foundation for this couple. And so that's I say all that to say that's the beauty of the job, that something that I love is just the different opportunities that I have.
I would agree. I feel like it's, I remember walking through it and being like, man, as a pastor, I enjoy speaking, but if I had to do that all the time, I'm going to get bored with it. And that's just more my personality.
Sure.
I like being what feels like a utility pastor. Yeah. Okay, you need me to do this, I can do this. You need me to do this, I can do that. So some weeks I'm going to need to go do a funeral and do, some premarital counseling. Other weeks it's heavy on, hey, we got Easter coming up. We got to get ready for that. And I've got guest service teams that I'm navigating. On top of that, I want to disciple people and do prayer groups and all those kind of things. Yeah. And this job gives me the opportunity to do all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, and to be able to put a lot of things, a lot of plates spinning.
Yeah.
That I think as a church we want done.
Yeah.
We want groups happening. We want even people being able to go, hey, how do I move from a tender to really plugging into Fountain Spring? Yeah. Hey, we'll come to Next Steps Experience. All that stuff falls into our laps.
Yeah.
Oh, because we go, hey, we've got to help people. It's not assimilate into our church. Not the best. You never want to say hey, we're moving you here. But that's what happens.
Yeah.
We want people. And people want to go I was here, now I'm here. Yeah. And so as a pastor, I really enjoy, because I did it in student ministry, being able to see, and this is the part that was kind of hard sometimes, is you do a sermon, you're okay, I feel like that landed well.
Yeah.
But there's so many that you're I have no idea.
Yeah.
I love being able to take a sermon, then follow up with people and go, hey, how'd it go? One-on-one. Yeah. Where is this leading you? What is God telling you? And to navigate just life circumstances with it, because you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes we get a call hey, I'm dealing with this. Oh, okay. Yeah. What do you need?
Or you never know how it impacts somebody. You can feel man, I might have bombed that sermon or I might have bombed that talk. And somebody comes to you and says, that was the first time we heard you and we wanted to come back. And you're wow, awesome.
Okay.
That's great. And that's the beauty of it. God does what God does. But I agree.
And there's some also analyzing of just, and this, I enjoy this part. I don't know if you do as much of what's the health of our location? How many people are serving? How many people are giving? How many people are this? Is that healthy?
Yeah.
Just, there's some people who love that strategy stuff and thinking through that. And so we get a little bit of that too.
You get to nerd out.
And to watch okay, well, how do we navigate some growth?
Yeah.
You're navigating growth at West right now. And so there's just a lot of components to our job. And I think part of the reason I wanted to have this conversation is to help everybody in our church recognize we are available in the sense of yes, we just explained our lives we got a lot of different things going on, but we love that.
Yeah, sure.
But sometimes what I sense we hear a lot, and you can tell me kind of what you hear, is sometimes I go, hey, Todd, you're busy, so I don't want to bother you.
Yeah.
And I go, my role is to meet with you.
Yeah.
don't determine that busyness for me.
No, that is. And that's the hardest part for me, because our job is to meet with people and connect with people, right? In this powerful way. And I really, it makes me just kind of, not sad, to put out there, but like, I want people to know that, listen, it may not be today.
Right.
Maybe next week we can meet, or maybe I do have some time today. Like I love when people reach out like, hey, do you have time today? Yeah, actually I do. Somebody canceled, or I've got some space here. But it is important. And I'll be honest, I had to learn those flexibility, because early on I was a yes guy. Like if you wanted to meet, I would make it meet, even if it meant
inconveniencing everybody else.
Yes, even if it meant inconveniencing my wife. Like, hey, I got to meet with this person. And I learned those boundaries. Like, so, like when Friday and Saturday come, if we meet, we can meet if we have to, but I want to guard that time, because I mean, I want to give as much as I can, Sunday to Thursday, so that people feel like they have a time to connect or meet and just be seen or heard. Yeah. But I need that time to fill up and to recharge. And granted, I'm still working on sometimes what that even looks like for me, but I agree. Nothing makes me sad, again, using the word sad, but nothing makes me a little more just affected when somebody says, well, I don't know if you have time, so I just made the decision not to well, no, hold on. Like, don't
make that decision.
Don't make that decision for us. Like our hope and our desire is that you do reach out.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, it also hurts when you really hope somebody does reach out and they don't, and you find out later they're going through something. And granted, you can only do what you can do. Like, and you and I have had that conversation a lot. Like,
we create moments of like the Next Steps experience is part of that. Like, hey, we want to connect with you that way. But I also love it. There's been times where people have reached out like, hey, we're new to the town. We're checking out churches. Can we meet with you to talk through just what you guys do? I go, absolutely.
Sure.
Let's talk through that. Hey, our marriage is struggling. Can we meet with you? Yes. Like, let's talk through that. Or, hey, maybe it's not struggling. We're just trying to navigate this. Sometimes I would encourage you, like, please don't wait till it's the last minute to then contact your pastor. It's like sometimes your next step is like more just, hey, let's meet with them now.
Yep.
And see, because I'm not saying we'll do all the counseling. We may go, hey, you should meet with this counselor. But sometimes just talking it out with somebody can be such a huge blessing in your life.
Yep, I would agree. I've been talking to couples lately, and I find myself looking at them going, you're good, but you're not that good.
Yeah.
And I borrowed that from Isaac Smith. I think he was the first person I heard say that. He was one of our bosses at a time. But the same is true. I might be good in some things, but I'm not that good to where I've got all the answers, or there are some things I need to come back and figure out, but I tell couples, like, listen, I don't have this degree, but I've been around the block, and I've seen a thing or two, and it's always weird, but it's also great being able to add things to the repertoire of going, man, 10 years ago I had a 9-year-old, and now I knew I could navigate and have conversations. Now I have a 19-year-old, and I can have conversations around those. Wow, this is what I see, and this is what I'm grateful for. But that also means, I think on the flip side, in the conversation I was looking forward to having too in this is, man, there are things that you and I are still learning and growing in. And we love those guys or those individuals that we look to and say, man, share with me how that's going and help me understand that better, so that I can understand it better. So when I do have a conversation with someone, I'm more prepared. So,
well, and I look at it this way, like one of the, like with us, with the roles that we take on of like shepherding this crew and taking care of them at locations, I go, we're not putting it all on us to do it, but it starts with us. Yeah. And so there might be times down the road where we may have some of you join us in this of like, because you've built a team that goes and meets people within the hospitals, because we got that too. Yeah. Of just like, hey, there's people who need to meet. And sometimes I can't do it all, but some of you are equipped in some of that. So our role at the end of the day is, yes, to shepherd you, but it's also to equip the saints. Yeah. Like, it is not on just us to take care of everything at our locations or to take care of everything within Fountain Springs. We start it. Yeah. Like, we are the instigators to going, hey, we need this and this and this at our location. Yeah. we could use your help.
Yeah, this last
and that's
week,
why we want to talk with you too. Sometimes it's not to. Sometimes we are just there. We want to connect and build that, but also we're looking at you like, hey, I feel like God's got a purpose for you too in this.
Yeah, I don't want to just connect with you because I want something, which I think is a danger, right? Like, well, Pastor Chris only calls me when he needs something. Now, I hope that's never the case.
That's not what we're trying to accomplish.
But this last week, I sent a text out to about 25 people, 30 people, and I got 4 other guys that were like, hey, I'll come help you.
Great.
So we were able to move some people that really desperately needed help at the last minute. And I was just writing notes to those guys going, you guys were an answer to prayer and awesome, and it's just fun to be able to do life in things that you want to do. And it's those unexpected moments like that where you go, this was just as fun as seeing you on a Sunday morning because we got to do something that was outside of all our comfort zones. And it was great. And it was a blessing. So,
And I would say we need somewhat of your help because, yes, we would love to be able to connect with everybody who ever steps foot in our door. But there's a lot of people who show up. And so some of it is and we follow up. I mean, all the new guests, we will make a phone call to, we will send a text to, and we will do an email to. Our goal is like, hey, 3 points of contact. Let's connect them in some of that way. And what's been interesting to watch is people just going, I'm surprised you called.
Yeah. That has been.
But that's what we do.
Yeah, that's our hope that we can surprise you by connecting in the ways that
we
do.
want to. Yeah. We want you to know that, hey, like, yes, and figuratively, like, we see you. Yeah. Like, we value you.
Well, you also, I talk about this with marriage a lot. You don't know what you don't know.
Correct.
So, like, if you're in the hospital, and which we do, we visit in the hospital as best we can, but you know more people than we do. And if there's somebody in the hospital, you can go visit them. Or if you want to let us know that we want to pray before a surgery or procedure or whatever the case is, like, you know way more people than we'll ever know. Right. And you play such a vital, not us, everyone listening.
But both and.
Plays
we will know
such
people,
a vital
you
role,
will know people.
Right? Yeah.
And so it gives us an opportunity to go to be the church that I think God calls us to be, where we care for one another. We carry each other's burdens. And we can't just do that by sitting an hour on Sunday.
No, I agree. And I love that. I love that you mentioned that because I think that's one of the things that you and I talk about. And we've tried to communicate more and more over the course of the last couple of years. Like, we intentionally are praying for our locations, for those requests that come in, we could spend the next 20 minutes talking about marriages and kids and relationships that we, as a multi-site team, as a staff of Fountain Springs, are consistently praying for the people that come and are a part, and even the people that aren't yet a part of Fountain Springs.
Because that's also a part of it. Like, yes, we have all those who are coming into our doors and being like, okay, like, how can we help them take those steps? But there's also plenty of people that haven't even come into our doors yet.
Agree. Yeah.
That we're kind of going, okay, how can we make sure west and east in all of our locations, but especially for us, is like, I've got east, you got west. Like, are we doing everything that we can to help people know who Jesus is?
Yep.
And that's outside of those walls and inside those walls.
Yeah. And, listen, and if you've been to West or whatever, my goal is I'd love to shake everybody's hand, but I just can't. There's just impossible. And that's why we have greeters and ushers and people in the parking lot, just points of contact for people to be seen and known. And I know that on a given weekend, you have people that would love to take just 5 minutes of your time, but you're busy talking to somebody new or somebody that maybe came to church for the first time or is just overwhelmed by everything taking place. Because, you watch it at West, somebody walks in and they're like, I went to a church with 40 people and this is not a church of 40 people. It's not, but the care and the desire is still the same to connect with you.
Our goal is to still make it feel close and feel relational.
Yep.
And that is what we go after. And so that's the part that I would say, even if we don't connect with you on Sunday, help us, like, in some senses, like, we're going to try to.
Yeah.
Like, you write down on a card that you're interested in being connected with, that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and I put that in my emails like you do, like, hey, if there's a chance that we can connect in person or over the phone, let's do it.
Let's make it happen.
Because nothing is worse than having something that you want to talk about or need to talk about and feel like you're just hitting a brick wall in conversation.
Yeah, especially if you're like, man, I'm struggling with this or that, purpose or relationships or job or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just go, I think it's so vital in people's lives to have a pastor, a spiritual outlet to go talk to it about, like, what does God want me to do?
Yeah.
And on top of that, I would go, And some of you, well, I'm not a pastor, but I go, but you can be that. You can be that spiritual advice, that spiritual mindset for people that I think as a church we need. Because like if tomorrow half the church decided to we all need one-on-ones, it'd be okay. Well, we'll figure it out. I'm going to need
to mark a little time out for that. Yeah.
But to me, I'd go, that's the goal I want us to get to where everybody can have that sit-down conversation at a table, coffee shop, whatever, one-on-one, and go, all right, so here's what I'm struggling with. Because I think groups are great. You need that. But at some point, you also need, just in life of I'm sitting at the kitchen table and I need to process this and I need somebody to process it
absolutely.
with.
Well, and you and I are the same way, right? Like, not to get off topic of what you're talking about, but just that idea of there are moments and times where you and I listen to different podcasts or just take time to grow and glean from other leaders. Like I have a guy that I call that's in California every now and then, just random questions, but I love it. He's always encouraging. He's always just taking a moment to be like, hey, how's it going? What are you thinking about? People asking us those questions as well, and it's important for us to make sure that we're not just giving, but we're taking in some things, because all of us have those jobs where we only know what we know, but sometimes we need to take a little extra time to understand something better or more complicated. And that's the cool part about the job is there's so many different facets that.
There is, because really what it comes down to, yes, we call it multi-site is our team just because there's multiple locations, but really it is adult ministry.
Yeah.
Helping adults. Once you're out of student ministry, it's going, okay, God still wants me to live a certain way. Yep. He doesn't stop with that. There's a journey in this. And I would say adults have a lot more things to navigate, a lot more responsibilities, a lot more weight. And so that's the part that I go, our roles is we want to make sure the adults have the opportunities to grow and to experience a relationship with the Lord. And some of that means we need to meet with you one-on-one.
Yeah.
So don't be scared. Don't let the optics of what's going on keep you from realizing the truth that there are people, you and I say, that want to meet with you.
And I'll say this.
And we have time for you.
And I will say this, and this is kind of like just a small caveat, right? Like we also will let you down. Right?
Yeah, we're not going to be perfect. We're not God.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I know expectations, again, you could talk about that marriage, unmet expectations.
Yep.
And if we've let you down, our intention is to not let you down. We understand that, but our intention is to be available and to be real and honest. And man, I hope that you know that we honestly want to connect and help you grow and take that next step or see you flourish or just come alongside and encourage you, even if it means that you're coming to tell us that you're moving across the country, right?
And sometimes because we may suggest hey, you should get in this group or be part of this. We're not passing you off.
No.
Because we know what that group's doing. We know what's kind of going on there.
Yeah.
And we go, man, we feel like that would be the best for you.
Yeah.
But if you come back and go, hey, it's not, okay, we'll go all right, we'll look at the next thing.
Yep, absolutely.
And so that's the part of it's our hope is that we've got this, we have this thing, I don't love calling it a system, but some kind of way of helping, okay, adults, you're dealing with this. Hey, here's where I could help you with these things. Because I go, that's my role is to equip you.
Yeah.
As followers of Jesus, I go, at the end of the day, I want you to be able to go help other people who don't know Jesus or other followers who are struggling in their relationship with Jesus. Because I go, that's where we start to go, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
This is healthy. And we're all living out our purpose.
Yeah. And it all begins and ends with Jesus, right?
Right.
And that's the most important key of just saying, hey, where are you with Jesus? Where are you with understanding that relationship? Because when you can begin to understand that and grasp his love for you, I mean, that helps you want to engage and grasp things a little bit with a more clear picture, which I think is so vital.
Yep.
So
my big encouragement, yes, we are a big church,
Yeah.
but we are a church that's very intentional about relationships.
I would
We
agree.
care about you. We want you to be part of this church. And there's maybe things that you're like, I just struggle with this. Okay. There's also some other great churches out there that you may go, this is awesome. But I think one of the things I'd want you to be just hear and overcome is our jobs are built around helping adults be able to experience the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's not, and sermons is one aspect of that. There's so many other aspects of that.
I would agree. And so, we hope that you appreciate the insight and just kind of the window into,
the behind the curtains of
that's
how.
right. Listen,
so now you know what we do during the week.
Yeah. And they're like, do we? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we hope you do. And we hope
a lot of planning, a lot of connecting with people. And,
a lot of, I hate admin work. I hate it, but it's a necessary, and you know that about me, right?
Necessary evil sometimes.
But there is the necessary evil of that. But we also get to do this podcast.
Evil, though, but, yeah.
Admin is evil. I'm just kidding. In my book, I guess. Yes, I don't know, but it's things you've got to do. Like, and life is like that, right? And
jobs we have it, relationships we have it, things you got to do.
Want to do, but we do it anyway.
Yep.
But no, I'm glad we get to do this, and I'm glad, you and I just saying yesterday, I'm glad we get to be a part of ministry together, and
we do, and we love being able to be at this church, and the biggest win I think is seeing people be able to experience a real relationship with the Lord.
Oh man, hands down.
Yep,
so cool.
That becomes so powerful, and that's what we want for everybody.
Yep, absolutely, man. Well, hey, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate all you do, and
appreciate you too, man.
Well, you have a good day, and we'll get to talk again soon.
Doing some more podcasts. So here we go.
See you next time.
There's our tagline.